Hello, everybody. Welcome to my first live stream. I'm DevOps Derek, or commonly known as just Derek, Derek Campbell. I'm a senior continuous delivery architect at Octopus Deploy. We have Michael Levan. Could you give us an introduction, Michael?
Hey everybody, how's it going? My name is Michael Levan. I'm a developer advocate at Octopus Deploy, also a content creator, videos, blogs, books, etc. And then also a public speaker in regards to anything Azure, Octopus, DevOps, cloud engineering related.
Awesome. Really looking forward to this. We've been working now for it's 4 weeks now already?
Yeah, this is the fourth week. Yeah, it's crazy, right?
How are you getting on as a developer advocate?
It's good, man. I think it's one of those roles where, a lot of people think that it's just, literally just like public speaking and talking about things, or like maybe some marketing, but it's so much more than that. I've been working with a Terraform provider, so I've been writing a ton of Golang. I've been communicating with everybody, not just about Octopus Deploy, but like cloud engineering in general, development in general, Azure, AWS, all that stuff. So it's a mixed bag. It's really a mixed bag between communicating with the community, obviously, and then also being a developer and still staying hands-on and still writing code. So it's super interesting. It's literally right up my alley. It's exactly what I want to be doing, and I'm definitely happy that I got the role. So
awesome. It's been great working with you. So can you share a little bit about your Azure experience and sort of Azure?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I would say actually once I moved out of a standard sysadmin role and I jumped into the cloud engineering role, I actually first started off with AWS. So my first experience ever was AWS. And it's cool. Like I still really enjoy AWS. It's still the 800-pound gorilla, obviously. Azure and AWS are very much like this at this point, quarterly, if you check the numbers, which is quite interesting. So then after that, I actually moved into Azure full time, which obviously complemented my background, because my background was a lot of Windows systems administration, Hyper-V, a ton of PowerShell. So obviously everything started to coexist pretty well. So at that point, I was working 100% in Azure, primarily AKS, Azure Container Instances, Azure Virtual Machines, Azure Storage, Key Vault. Then moved over to Azure DevOps for my primary CI/CD tool. And then just obviously working a ton of Azure and a ton of Azure DevOps, putting those together and building environments and building solutions.
Yeah, cool. I think we come from pretty similar backgrounds. I've been using Azure for the past 7 years now. It's funny because I was always predominantly on premise or our own data centers, and then I moved out to Australia to head up a technical services team in Melbourne. And at that point, data centers just weren't, like they were very, very expensive.
Sure.
And I actually got invited to the launch of Azure in Australia.
Oh, wow.
Scott Guthrie came over, and I was in this tiny little room, and there was all these directors and of like PwC and whatnot, and I'm just sitting there like, I'm just a technical, head of technical services, and it was really cool. So I went up to Microsoft for the day, and there was a big kind of launch day. Really cool actually. Since then, I've kind of been hooked because it's just so flexible, and I'm kind of trying to. I'm hoping to show some of that today. It's definitely came on. It's definitely came on since I first started using it. It was great, but it was very much like VMs. It's basically went from that sort of at the time it was infrastructure as a service, and then it became platform as a service and a SaaS provider at the same time through 365.
Yep.
And then we say that it now does everything, and that's the thing. So it is really great. So yeah, both obviously big fans. I used a bit of AWS as well, but predominantly Azure, and also Azure DevOps as well. It's definitely one of my favorite CI systems. So today we're going to be talking about the AZ CLI. That's the command line interface. Obviously, Michael, you've been big in PowerShell for some time now. How do you think it compares to PowerShell?
So it's actually funny. I think the comparison is very much like ARM templates. If everybody who's watching is familiar, that's like the infrastructure as code or configuration management, purely for Azure. So I think it very much compares at this point to ARM versus like Terraform, for example. The simple fact is that ARM is just very verbose, and it's actually quite beautiful when you really go through it and you understand what's happening. But at the end of the day, there's this much code for what Terraform can do in this much. And it's very similar to PowerShell and AZ CLI at this point, I'm seeing. So like you need this much PowerShell, but in AZ CLI, you only maybe need this much. And there are pros and cons to that. Like, for example, AZ CLI is awesome, but it doesn't have, what you would get in a standard programming language. So you don't have error handling, you don't have loops, you don't have logic. So for me, I use a lot of both, but I use them together. Like whenever I'm writing anything with AZ CLI, I am always incorporating something with PowerShell, whether I'm wrapping AZ CLI in a function or I'm putting some params or I'm putting some error handling, whatever the case may be, I'm constantly always using them together.
Yeah, I'm the same, to be honest. Like, I'm definitely not as strong on PowerShell as you are, but it is funny, why say something in 500 lines when you can say it in 7? But that's,
Yep.
yeah, I think like that, it's something I've jumped into a bit recently because we've got other live streams that we do, but like I'm currently learning, I'm doing the Azure Architect exam in a couple of weeks. And with that, I've been doing some learning, and I've definitely, I've played with the CLI, and it's great. But it's really kind of helped me adopt Azure much quicker. I think that ARM's fantastic. It's very verbose is a good way of putting it. At the same time, one of the benefits of ARM templates is you can go and just do all of these resources deployments at the same time. Whereas with a PowerShell, it tends to be one after the other, so it's much more efficient with ARM as well. But CLI is really cool, and what I'll be doing today is I'm going to do a basic demo. I'm going to just install the CLI, do some basic bits, show you some tips and whatnot. And then Michael's actually going to do a bit of a demo as well, something a bit more advanced. So let's jump in. I'm just going to actually. You've got a demo. You've got a blog coming out as well soon, don't you? About this?
Yes, yeah. The exact demo that I'm going to show today, I'm going to be showing, or I'm going to be. Well, I already did write the blog about it. I just got to wait for it to go live. Yeah.
Awesome. So obviously keep an eye on that. So what I'm going to do is actually let's start. So you can see here, I'm just going to do AZ is the abbreviation for this, but we're just going to check there. Command not found. Just want to make sure. You can jump onto the website and download it. This you can get it for Windows, Mac OS. Mac's generally my daily driver at the moment, although I am in the middle. But what I am going to do is install it using Chocolatey. Chocolatey is a software packaging tool that you can use for installing. If you're installing anything on Windows, use Chocolatey. So what you can do here is AZ.CLI and then confirmation. Select, oh, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Oh, looks like it's not found within 1 second. Oh, looks like so let's see. Choco install. Yeah, it looked of course. So yeah, it's one of those ones. Choco install.
I always do that. Like I always either shorthand something that shouldn't be shorthand, or I do it longhand and it shouldn't be longhand.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like I do that the same. It's like it's one of those things as well. It's like I always forget. Like if I install Octopus using Chocolatey, and you have to apply like Octopus dash and then it's a tentacle. I always forget whether I need the dash or not. But yeah, so what we've got here, it's going ahead and downloading everything here. So let's have a quick look. You can also jump on, if you just Google install Azure CLI, you can just grab the current release, or you can also grab the Microsoft installer as well, so via PowerShell.
And that'll just be an API call to the Azure CLI MSI, right?
Yeah. So you just grab that. There we go. You can see here that you've got invoke web request specifying the URI. where it's going, and then it'll just go ahead, start the process, and then go through and just pipe through quiet. And it should just work. This isn't too dissimilar as well. So there we go. You've got version 2.10. So obviously, whilst we wait this installing, it is the CLI really, I think it really just does cut down. Like, I think PowerShell is great, but I think like that, one of the benefits of the CLI is you get to grips much quicker with installing and configuring resources in the cloud. So here we go. My net is, I'm normally a little bit quicker than this. One of the things just to be aware of as well, whilst we go through today's demo, what I would recommend doing is just going out to Google, right, and then just doing AZ CLI examples. And actually, let's go to google.com first. So what you'll find, right, that you've got AZ CLI samples GitHub. There is so many resources out there. I've already got a few, like for instance here, you can see that I've already been here yesterday. So there's loads of samples that you can grab off GitHub. I find that's the case with most tools that I use. And then you can, so for instance, I've got them all here. You've got some samples here where you can do things like backup schedules, restores. You can also, there's also other ones there that you can grab the source code. You can actually improve this as well. So here's some of the obviously bits if you wanted to work on it. There's loads of things out there. How do you feel about? How do you feel that you have to go out and start from scratch, Michael, or do you think that jumping in and actually like seeing what other people are doing, do you think that's beneficial? Which approach do you generally use?
I mean, I think it really depends on how far you're in. So like that's like really with any language with me personally. So if I'm like new to a language, like, or if I'm new to a CLI, like Azure CLI, I'll absolutely go through and check out some examples. But since like I'm fairly comfortable with it, I really don't go in and look at too many examples. But you know what I do pretty much every single time I use the Azure CLI, whatever I'm trying to do. So for example, if I'm like working with Azure VMs, I'll always Google like AZVM, and then I'll go to the Microsoft documents and I'll go through all of the switches and I'll see what's available. That's typically what I do every single time I use it. So yeah, like for example, if you just like open up a new browser and you literally type in AZVM, I'll just always go to like whatever's the first thing that pops up in the Microsoft documentation, and then I'll look through the switches and the flags and stuff, and then kind of see what's happening.
Well, I'm the same. I mean, you see here, obviously, you can come in and there's loads of docs. That's one of the things that I really love about the Microsoft docs page. It's world class. Like some of the stuff there, you can jump in. There's tutorials. Obviously, here's about installing, but you've got, like, say here we go. You want to install a Linux VM, come in, and then it's going to actually take you through all this PostgreSQL. Excellent, go for it. And you've got obviously your reference as well, so you can go in, like for instance, interactive. That's something I want to show you, so I don't want to click into that just yet. It's definitely my favorite command because it effectively writes your CLI for you, really. So what you can do is there's loads of stuff here. Like if you're doing app services, then what you can do is find out about create, delete, list, show, etc. Because quite often I go in and I'm seeing what's there already. So hopefully, no, it's still going ahead. And this is the thing. So if you do check it out, definitely recommend checking out Microsoft Docs because you get great samples. Check out GitHub. There's loads of great resources out there for you to jump in and have a look.
You know what I've been really loving recently, and I think it's probably one of the coolest pieces of AZ CLI, is REST, AZ REST. So, like, if I'm sure anybody that's been on the call has made, some API call at some point. And here's the thing, like, you always got to put in a bunch of different headers. Maybe you have to like convert them to base 64, or maybe you have to convert from a secure string to plain text, like something. With AZ REST, it's such an easy way to make API calls. It's really straightforward. It's pretty ridiculous how straightforward it is. And I love doing this. Like I used to write like just like my own custom headers and stuff in PowerShell, and it's always so cumbersome. And once I found out about this, I've just been using AZ REST instead.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, because this is basically invoke web request for PowerShell. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's great. It's super powerful. And this is honestly the amount of. I'm probably a little bit different from you, Michael, where I don't think I ever start from like an empty script. I normally go in and grab something from somewhere, and then kind of either build on it, change some values. Often, I find 90% of the time.
Yeah, I'm literally the complete opposite. 90% of the time, I'm usually just starting from scratch.
That's interesting. It's interesting. Okay, so I wasn't expecting the CLI to take quite this long to install. Let me just double check. Okay, it has installed. So let's jump in and we can have a look. Let's see. So if you say AZ Interactive, we may need to restart. There we go. So you don't even have to restart VS Code. So AZ Interactive is something that's still in preview. It's been in preview for a while now. So it can change, but effectively what it does is it gives you something that will do auto clip. It's a bit like IntelliSense, really.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. Let's just have a look. So what we've got here, hit enter to refresh. There we go. So one of the first things that you do is one thing just to be aware of with Interactive, you don't actually have to specify AZ. So if you select login, going to go ahead and log into.
Oh, nice.
There we go. So it should pop up, and then
interesting. So it's kind of like using verbose in a sense.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like that is it cuts down. It makes it an even shorter language, effectively even shorter, so you don't have to specify that. So it's running a little bit quicker than this. In fact, let's just refresh. Yeah. Okay, that's a little strange. So AZ Interactive. Let's try this again.
Very cool. Yeah, I've never actually used AZ Interactive before. Huh.
Really?
Yeah, check that out.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. It's something I kind of stumbled. Someone showed it was talking about it on Twitter, and it was just wait a minute, what's this? What is this magic? And it's my favorite thing. It really just makes everything so much. This is the thing. So like say login. So you can see there, right? It's doing it. So you select login.
Oh man, this is like you know what this reminds me of, using ISC.
There we go. Yeah. It's so what you've got. Let's see. So I logged in. It did actually work that time, and I've just closed. I've just VS Code as well. Let's just see.
Yeah, this is awesome. Nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It is beautiful. So let me just. There we go. Actually, set default shell. Let's go back to Bash. Let's just stay on PowerShell. So we'll need to log back in. I closed there. So AZ login. No. So it's AZ Interactive. Machine's running a little slow. Let's close that up. So what it's going to do should just be bringing it up. It's not normally this slow. Okay, here we go. So, whilst this is taking, what demo are you going to show later on?
Oh, yeah. So, it should be quite interesting. Let's say like you've ever built a Docker image with a Docker file, I can pretty much guarantee that like 10 times out of 10, it's been with, creating a Docker file and then using Docker build, the commands. But with the Azure CLI, there's actually a way to build your Docker image like you would with a standard Docker file and the Docker build command, except using AZ CLI commands, which is pretty sweet. And then that same command, you can push up that, I'm going to be showing an NGINX image. So you can push up that image that you've built right into ACR, which is Azure Container Registry. And it's going to be a real quick demo. You'll see how quick and easy it is to do it. If you want an alternative to using Docker commands, if you're in the Azure space. So that should be super fun. Yeah, and I remember the first time that I realized that you could do it, I was pretty blown away. I thought it was pretty sweet. So
yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's awesome. It's slightly different. I'm really sorry. For some reason, this seems to be taking a brutally long time.
It's interesting. Are you by chance maybe having some like ISP issues or something like that? Oh, it looks like it's going pretty quick now.
Let's go. Yeah, it suddenly fast forwarded. It's like the future now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's start this again. So AZ. Again. This is not good. Okay, here we go. Let's see. This should now start working. It's typical. So, been running fine all day, playing about with it. And then, you jump on and the demo gods are not with you. So there we go. So there we go. You see there, we've got all the fun. Okay, so why is it still taking so long?
That is awesome.
Yeah, it is quite cool. So what you can do, right? So for instance, what you can do, say account. There we go. So you do account. Whoa, what is happening? Let me just see for something.
Maybe try restarting VS Code, maybe?
I've already tried
an odd issue with VS Code, and your CPU is trying.
Yeah. I am running. What is happening here? Let's see. Right. Apologies, it's not normally this slow. Right. How is there so many VS codes?
I would say try killing VS Code, maybe.
I think weirdly. Right, okay, I think we're back. Right, so account. So say for instance, you can actually do set, and then you've got say account to account list, right? There we go. Now we're working. So what I want to do is there's a few there from Octopus. What I want to do is I want to find my Visual Studio. So there's the ID. I want to grab this. Come back down. So account, set, subscription, and then paste.
Oh, nice! Look at that. Yeah, and it shows you all the names of them too.
Yeah, it makes things easier, really easy. So say for instance, well, let's say group. So here, this is a resource group. So you've got here resource group. You want to do create. So you want to know the location. We're going to do West Europe. Probably going to set a name, and then Derek demo. There we go. There we go. It's created. So you see that what's in, say for instance, you want to create that VM, right? That VM, you can set auto shutdown. So it's really cool like that, where you can actually have it auto shutdown at that. I'm going to create a VM, right? So here we go. Name Derek. So everybody needs a virtual machine called Derek. And then what you've got here is you can go down. There's so many things that you can do here. So obviously, if you want to say it's a virtual machine, you want to generate the SSH, and what I really like is how it gives you all that information.
It actually gives you the description. Like, you're not even just getting the switch, you're also getting the description of the switch. That's amazing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So what we want to do here, so we'll do West Europe, right? And then name, and then obviously I've already done name. So it'll be size. Check this one. I really like this, right? Is it size? Let's see. Oh. Let's see. What we'll do is we'll create a VNet. So we'll start with like VNet. Help. And this is another thing to be aware of as well. Oh, see if you just actually do help. Right. What you've got here is you've got a bunch of commands here that you can really kind of jump in. So you've got accounts. Obviously, that's how you manage your Azure accounts. You get ACS, ACR. In this instance, what we're going to do is we're going to do. So we've got. Let's have a look. So from here, we're going to want network. So you go down, so you do network, then you do help again. So from here, you can do application gateways, you can do ASGs. In this instance, it's a VNet, so we're going to do network, and then we're going to do name, VNet, create, then we're going to do name, Eric demo, obviously, because, and then from there, resource group.
One of the other really cool things too is the fact that it tells you which parameters or switches, whatever you want to call them, are required and which ones aren't. So typing it tells you what's required. Yeah, that's amazing. I do want to ask a question, if that's okay. So, all right, you had to do an AZ login, which gives me the sense that interactive mode is in like its own environment. So it's not looking at your existing environment. It's putting itself somewhere else, right? In some like form of like virtual environment. Is that right?
Yeah. So that's the thing, is obviously you can go in, you do that login. So everything you're doing locally, and then you log in, you can authenticate, and then you can work with each of your different subscriptions as well. In this instance, I'm working with my Visual Studio one. I don't want to do this on production because that's dodgy. So yeah, you got lots of different ways to do that, and you can do things as well with like Azure Active Directory as well, and controller. So there we go. We've just created a VNet. So what we're going to do now is do VM create. So this is where we'll do name, Eric, demo, VM, and then you've got here resource group. We're probably going to do, you've probably guessed this one, Michael. We'll probably go with data. Forgot to do that. And then image. Honestly, using this is actually easier than selecting it in the Azure portal, I find. So you can do Azure CentOS. We can do data center. There you go. We'll do a data center. What's next? We want admin. See, we probably want the admin user. Oh. Yeah, admin username. Say Dave. Admin password. Jelly beans. Google. There we go. Admin password, obviously nice and secure. You can see it live being created. And then from there, like we go through, so obviously you've got the computer name, custom data. There's so many. you want to enable the agent. There we go. We've enabled it. That's true. And then from there, what we've then got is, let's go through. So from here, location, that's West Europe. And from here, we'll go through. So many options. You can specify NICs as well, NSG rules, OS disk name.
Yep.
You want to obviously attach. In this instance, we're just going to go and do attach OS disk. That should be enough. Oh. Let's see what the error is there. So,
you gotta specify the disk name.
Ah, yes. Should be it. Yeah. Pick image.
Interesting. Incorrect usage. Image name.
There we go.
Huh.
Image. Attach OS disk.
Odd.
True. There we go. Oh.
You have to use attach OS disk?
There you go.
There you go.
So now it's obviously going ahead and creating that virtual machine for us.
Yeah. This is really cool, man. You know what this reminds me a lot of? PyEnv. It's like the Python virtual environment. So
Right.
It's very similar. What you can do is you can set up a Python virtual environment, and let's say like you're installing a bunch of libraries. Any libraries that you install in the Python virtual environment, it doesn't touch your local host. So like anything that you're doing in there is just dedicated to that virtual environment. That's it. And AZ Interactive appears to be very similar, which is cool.
Yeah. The thing I like about it is I started playing about with it recently, and what it's made, I mean, you've probably not been a great demo, if I'm being honest, but when I was playing about with it over the weekend, I was smashing through it so much quicker. And then suddenly, it was when I came out of Interactive, what I was then finding was I was actually so much quicker at spinning stuff up, even without, next minute I knew I wasn't even using it. So what we've got here is we've got obviously a Derek demo VM. Let's jump over to, let's see, Firefox. Just make sure that you see here. Oh, let's get, there we go. So portal, I'll just make sure we can see this. I don't need to read my emails. Give it a sec. This is what I just think it just makes you way more proficient with the CLI, which is really great. So obviously not good, but yeah, but at the same time, so what you can do, right? So say for instance, VM delete, and also it saves everything as well. So say you get something wrong, you run it, then from there, so you can also then do VM delete, name, and it automatic. So yeah, there we go, Derek VM, and then you're good. And also one thing just to be aware of it, if you append no wait, then obviously it will just automatically complete there. And then the only thing is I kind of like waiting for it just to make sure it's successfully deleted. But let's just make sure you can see here, as you can see. So let's go to all resources, all subscriptions, Studio. Oh, let's see. There we go. So there we go. We've got Derek VM, we've got the virtual network, we've got our storage, everything's been added, which is great. So you see there just how much this has worked. So what I would do here, I tend to just go, I'm a big fan of using, putting stuff in in resource groups that delete at the same time. So you generally find like it might be a region, it could be an environment. There's loads of things in how you can cut it up, but I'm a big fan of basically just being able to delete everything in one go. So do that, confirm, off it goes. It'll delete everything in the resource group. So we've done that, and that's all done. But it will delete the virtual network, the resource group, and everything contained in that. So yeah, that's Azure CLI. You imagine there's loads of samples. Also, one thing to be aware of is you can, what you can do is do command, and there's ways like, so for instance, AZ, well, you can actually generate, so for instance, I've created a script here. So you come in here, you can script things out. So for instance, what I've done here is created something where you can do a bunch of scripts. So you could select a subscription. You can use, obviously, you can specify everything up there. You can create your group. You can create your app service plan. So there's ways that you group all those commands, and it'll go through and create everything for you in a single script as well. But yeah, it's awesome. I'm a big fan. I'll definitely be using it more and more in my day-to-day working life as well. So there we go. We're just waiting on that deleting. But I think it's, I'll hand it over to you, Michael, and you can take us through your demo.
All right, great. Yeah. So I'm looking this way, by the way, because this is where my other monitor is. So let me just share my screen here. Can you see this screen with VS Code here?
Yeah, I see everything.
Perfect. Okay, so let's think of a scenario where you have any Docker file. So maybe it's just like a very, very basic Docker file. Maybe it's something more complex where you're exposing certain ports. You're exposing, let's say, I don't know, a .NET Core web app, something like that. Whatever the case may be, this will work. So what I want to do is I have this directory here, and I'm going to bring up this Docker file. Super basic, super straightforward. It's just pulling the Ubuntu base image, and it's installing an NGINX on it. That's it, and doing some updates. That's it. So how would we typically build this environment? Well, we do a Docker build dot. And what this would do is this would start building our Docker image. Now, obviously, we really don't care about doing that. If I do a Docker image ls, we see that it's not here, so that's fine. Now, what we want to do is we want to use the power of Azure CLI to take the Docker image, build it, and push it up to ACR. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the portal here. I'm actually logged into mine, so let me sign in with a different account. All right, I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to octopus.com, then bring up my password here really quick. Dealer screen. So what I'm doing right now is I'm switching accounts to purely for my Octopus account. So switch this here. All right. Okay, so now once I'm logged in, I'm going to go to my resource group, and what's going to happen is I'm going to be able to see a registry that's set up currently once the portal decides to load. All right, we're going to go here. Go to, and all right. So from in here, I have a registry, and I'm going to go to my repositories, and I see this repository here that's holding an image that I created. So what I'm going to do is, let's make things a little bit fun, and we're going to delete the entire thing. So this is going to go through, go back here, and as we can see, maybe in a second. Okay, so it says that it deleted it, but it's still showing up in the portal, so it's fine. So I'm going to go back to VS Code here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a few commands. The first one I'm going to run is AZ ACR create. So what that's going to do is that's going to create my registry for me. So highlight this, I'm going to run selection, and this is going to go through and create for me. Now, the next one, and this is quite interesting to me, is AZ ACR login. So what this is saying is it's logging in to my new Azure Container Registry that I created. And you may be wondering, like, well, I'm already logged into my AC account. Why do I need to do this? And the reason why is because you could have multiple Azure Container Registries. And if you have multiple Azure Container Registries, the problem is like, Azure doesn't have any way to know which one you actually want to use. So what this does is this allows you to log into whichever container registry you want, obviously, as long as you have access to it. So we can see here that the login was succeeded. And then at this point, we have the AZ ACR build command. So very much just like Docker builds, where I did the dot, and the dot just means look in my current directory for any Docker file that exists. So what this is saying point me to my registry, the one that we just created, aka the one that we want the repository or the Docker image to exist in. T means tag, so the name, just the metadata name of the repository, and then the file. So the file is saying what type of file. It's a Docker file, and dot, aka it's in my existing directory. So if I do an ls here and I do this, we can see that where my script is, where I'm running the code from, has the Docker file, which is this Docker file. It's just, like I said, an Ubuntu image installing NGINX. So then if I highlight this and I run this, right? So what this is doing is, and again, it's going to look very, very similar to if you've used Docker before. It's going to look very, very similar, where it's actually downloading the image. It's setting up the image. As we can see, it's pulling from, where is it? It's going too fast, sorry. It's pulling from the standard Ubuntu library, which is exactly what would be happening if we were just doing a Docker build. So it literally does the same exact thing, which is obviously awesome. It's going through, it's doing the update for us. If we go down here and pull this down, we can see that it's doing the update for us, and then it's going to install NGINX for us. If we scroll down a little bit, we're going to now see that the image was successful. Now, the interesting thing, and this took me a few times today, is if you don't specify a tag, it'll still build the image, but it's not going to put it anywhere, because Microsoft or Azure is like, well, we don't know what you want to call this thing, so we're just going to build it, and it's just going to go into nowhere land, essentially. So what's going to happen now is if I go to the Azure portal and I go to repositories, we can see that this was created, and we can see this is a new one because 3:42 p.m. It was created at 3:41. I'm in New Jersey, so U.S. Eastern Standard Time. So this was created exactly a minute ago today. And if we go to latest, we can see here that the NGINX image was successfully created, and that's it. So the really cool thing, and you may be wondering, like, well, why am I going to use this if I'm already using Docker build commands? Here's the thing. If you're working exclusively in Azure, this is literally doing all of the login for you, the creating the registry, the tagging the image, the pushing the image, everything. So what you would have to do with Docker build, this solution is really taking it and knocking off like 10 commands for you. So it makes it's the same thing. It just makes it a little bit faster, honestly. And obviously, if time is money, this is going to be saving you some money and some time. And that's all I got for you, Derek.
No, I thought that was really cool. Thank you very much.
Yep.
I've got another demo I'm going to just give. I'm just resizing my screen because I just realised it was a little on the large size. So I'm just resizing here.
Sure.
There we go. Keep changes. Okay, so what I've got now is I've got that Linux web app that I showed you earlier on. So what we've got here is we've got this where whilst you were talking, thanks for showing that. I thought it was really cool. We've got the subscription, the resource group, location, much like that. We've got the plan name. I've went in, I've logged in, I've came out of Interactive, and then from there, I'm just going to go ahead and create that app. So, what is that? Anyway, I think that's another failure. I think I've had enough demo failures for today. So I'll just cut back. Right, that was the first stab at my obviously the Twitch streaming and YouTube streaming. So just want to say, Michael, thank you very much. Obviously, we're going to be doing another session next week where Gregor Sutey is going to be, or Azure Gregor is going to be joining us, and we're going to be talking Azure certifications and share some hints and tips on that as well. Michael, thank you very much for joining me today. It's been super useful.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. All the best. Thanks, everyone.